Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the Legacy Forge podcast, where we explore stories of leaders who turn leaders from their breakdowns into breakthroughs. Today's guest, got a wonderful bloke by the name of Anaez with me, who's faced an inoperable brain tumor. Doctors said surgery would leave him paralyzed or worse. 5 weeks later, scans showed the tumor had shrunk by 50%. By over 50%, that's right. With no chemo, no radiation therapy, that's right. For us Aussies, that's no barbecue. And no drugs. From a bullied teen to the master art of a royal martial art. From near death to teaching others how to command their nervous system. Anaez, brother, is living proof. And I've read your story. It's transformational. It's what's possible. That's right. What's possible when science meets spirit and we reclaim sovereignty over our biology, our energy, and our destiny. That's right. Give a warm welcome to Anaez. Brother, how you doing? Thanks for joining me today.
Craig, thank you so much for having me. And for everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in to watch and listen. It's an honor to be here with you.
That's right. Thank you, brother. I'm curious. Let's get straight to it. Hey, take us back to that moment, that room, that doctor's room. The doctor's telling you. What decision did you make in that instant?
You know, to understand that and exactly where I went from there is to understand where I've come from. So for the past 26 years, I, as you mentioned, have been one of only two American master trainers of a very special, royal, ancient martial art. But it's a lot more than that. It's an energy development art. It's a meditation art, mindfulness, energy healing, and superhuman ability art that has been used by Indonesia's military, every single branch, including their special forces, for over 55 years. And I became the very first non-Indonesian person allowed to learn this back in 1999. And I helped pioneer this with one of my younger brothers for the entire Western hemisphere of the planet. And it was always about helping other people, specifically blind people, to be able to sense their surrounding using different senses besides sight. So that's how this actually got started. So I've been in this know thyself, inner peace, searching for enlightenment space for a very long time. But I can tell you this, nothing could have prepared me for that day. So back in February of 2025, I was co-facilitating a very high-level spiritual meditation and energy development event in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, when something really strange started happening to me, something very alarming. I lost sensation of my body. So if you can just imagine, if you just touch your arms right now, we take this for granted, but imagine that was taken away from you and every place on your body was completely numb. I even stuck a needle in my arm just to see, because I was like, this is not normal. So when I got home, the very next day, I went to the emergency room and they did all kinds of tests on me. They hooked up all these different electrodes to my body to measure my heart. They took x-rays of my chest, did blood work. Everything was checking out. But they also did an MRI to see what was happening in my brain. And so if you could just imagine what it's like to be sitting in that hospital bed for hours, not knowing what they're going to find or if they're going to find anything at all, because sometimes that happens. And seeing this elderly neurosurgeon walk in and just tell you, Mr. Zeleznick, I need to see you in the hall. That's my last name, Anaez Zeleznick. And my heart started going a million miles an hour. I'm going to tell you, I made hummingbirds look like their hearts almost stopped. It was just going a million miles an hour, because just like with the principal at school, you never want somebody to call you in their office. And so I stepped out into the hall, still had all these electrodes attached to me. And he took me over to this monitor and he started flipping through the MRI slides until he stopped on one. And he said, You see this right here? And he pointed to the screen. And I said, yeah. He said, that's not supposed to be there. And then I heard the words that you never want to hear anybody say to you or to anybody that you know or love. You have a brain tumor. And then it got even more interesting. He said, it's on your brainstem. It's pressing on your center for breathing. Ironic for a breathwork master to have a brain tumor that's pressing on the center for breathing. There's definitely a lesson behind that. And then he said, it's inoperable. We can't get to this. This is in prime real estate. We can't biopsy it and we can't treat it. So let's just wait for about 6 months. We'll have you come back for another MRI and we'll see if there's any change. And I just went, oh, no. No. The people who know me know I'm not going to wait. I'm going to act. As a martial artist, I'm not going to wait to get punched in the face twice. I'm going to do something about that. I got hit once, just a diagnosis. So for about an hour, I was in a deep state of shock, as I'm sure anybody else would be. But it didn't take me very long before I started to look at this instead of, why is this happening to me? How could this happen to me? Look at all the things I've done. I've been so healthy. I've taken care of myself. None of that matters because what's real is what's real. And so to pivot to, how is this for me? I've had a near-death experience. I came back to life on purpose in 2007. I've had many out-of-body experiences. I've been in this game, in this realm for a long time. And so I realize that each and every one of us, whether we want to admit it or not, creates our reality, including every single experience that we ever have, good, bad, or indifferent. So I said to myself, okay, Anaez, you created this for a reason. What is the lesson behind this? How is this for me? How is this a lesson? And then a few hours later, my heart that I've been giving to so many people for all these years to help them achieve their greatest strength and alignment and vitality in their life, I pivoted again, not just from how is this for me, but how can I turn this into inspiration for other people? Because I know there are a lot of people facing different issues throughout their physical life and their mental life, their emotional life. How can I help? And that has taken me on this amazing odyssey that I'll explain as much as you would like about that. But suffice to say, no chemo, no radiation, no surgery, no pharmaceuticals. And like you mentioned, over a 50% reduction by using a framework that I call Ascend, because I founded Ascended Living is a program that my soul partner and I have created to really support other people with chronic illnesses as well as injuries, including TBIs, all kinds of different things that we're able to really help support people with in a way that the medical establishment just hasn't caught up to yet. So when I formed my integrated ascension method, that is my business. It's got so much wrapped up in there. It was to help combine science with this energetic practice, because we're at a point in time, Craig, where things are possible we never would have thought of before. I mean, AI, everybody's heard of it. It's blowing up. But on the scientific and medical fronts, they didn't have that in the 16th century when this art was created, right? And so I figured several years ago, how can I combine the best of this system, which affects the physiology and the nervous system and the energetic system and the mind in such a profound way, with the best of what's here in the 21st century? But when I got that diagnosis, Craig, it really became time for the healer to heal thyself. It was no longer about just helping everybody around me become their healthiest self. Now it was time for me to step into those shoes of being that living example, and honestly, to give other people permission to heal as well.
Exactly. And what I'm hearing from that is We don't rise to the level of our dreams. We rise to the level of our training. And just listening from your journey, it sounds very much like that. You've become your own self healer internally. So, okay, something's happened to me. Now I practice what I am teaching. I embody, I become the model. Spirit has given me the opportunity, God, those out there in the spiritual community has given me the opportunity now to practice. As dire as the situation or the cards that were dealt to you at the moment, you were given that opportunity to become that model for others to follow. So the moment of decision for you, or that moment of truth, was action. Yeah, what else I'm getting at. You'd already prepared your training with that Indonesian rule system or the IM, just to dig that little deeper. How did that prepare you for this fight and lead you to the integrated ascension method?
That's a great question, Greg. So when I was 12 years old, I nearly committed suicide. I had one of my father's rifles loaded, pointed at my head, and because of very severe bullying at school, as well as some abuse at home through my mother, I didn't feel safe anywhere, and I was about to end it all, and I didn't. My love for my parents and the guilt I would feel for having done that to them, I couldn't do it. So I put the gun away, and then that night I started having my first out-of-body experiences, and they continued. So I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I was a lot more than just a physical body, because I could see myself laying there, and then I could go and I could travel and I could come back to my body. I couldn't talk to anybody about it because who's going to talk to you? Who are you going to talk to when you're a teenager? And then later, after many years of meditation, all kinds of different trainings and different energy modalities, and pioneering this system, this white dove, or the Merpati Putih white dove system from Indonesia. In 2007, I had a near-death experience where during the tests for this system, they are unlike any martial arts test you can imagine. They are just the most difficult ordeal that you can even fathom outside of, say, special forces training. And I was poisoned by carbon monoxide from a diesel generator. And as I finished my movement test, I watched my body drop, and I was still standing up. And it was an F word situation. My brother and one of my trainers dragged me off of the training field and leaned me up against a tree. And I'm watching this from the outside, and I knew what had happened. And I had the choice to stay in my body or to go to what's next. And I chose to stay because my mission to bring this art and to help millions of people liberate themselves was not finished yet. So I came back into my body. Thousands of hours, so far it's about 38,000 hours of meditation, martial arts practice, professional speaking, teaching, presenting. So when I got this diagnosis, I didn't actually experience fear. Shock, yes. But fear of what's next, I've had enough experience and I've actually come back from the other side. So I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen to me at least, or at least I have a really good idea. The thing that actually gave me some fear is that I came here to Earth School for a reason. And I don't feel that I have achieved the reason that I came here. So not achieving that soul purpose and soul path is the only thing that's given me real pause. I hope that answered your question. Not sure.
Soul pause. I'm hearing a lot of faith in there. Faith itself, faith in the journey, faith in the unknown or the unexpected unknown. How did faith play an important role for you?
Well, those experiences, the out-of-body experiences, near-death experience, lots of meditation, many plant medicine journeys has given me that window beyond the veil to understand. So faith Belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. It really is. I've had enough experience and knowledge in that the faith was easy. Faith was easy because I know I'm here for a reason, just like you're here for a reason. Every single person who's ever walked the face of the earth and will ever is also here for a reason. So for me, having that faith to know that other people have come back from stage 4 diagnosis and things much more difficult or dire or emergent than mine. So if they could do it, I can do it. And if I can do it, then I can teach other people to do it too.
Mm, mm. Exactly right. Faith is an important pillar. It's kind of sits on the top, the end point, the why factor. Um, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Um, what were your daily actions in those darkest moments? What did you do? So the steps, and how did you keep your faith?
Mm,
Because there are some testing moments there. A lot of people would give up in those moments.
yeah. Honestly, giving up has never crossed my mind once, Craig. Not even for a moment. Not, and so that hopefully can inspire other people as well not to give up. So what I did is I started to educate myself in a way that I hadn't before. Now, I have been a very studious person. I've read thousands of books. I've always hungered for knowledge. But now it was really important that I really pinpointed what kind of knowledge that I was taking into my brain and into my mind, into my heart, into my body. So looking at these things, started doing the deep dives into things like nutrition, supplementation, herbalism, other kinds of energy modalities and energy healing work, things that I had been interested in before, but now my life actually depends on it. And so I created a 6-part series, different steps that I do. And I gave this the acronym ASCEND. A is for awareness and mindset. Anytime you have a difficult situation, whether it's a disease, whether it's a marital thing, whether it's a mental illness thing, doesn't matter what it is, awareness and mindset is absolutely key, because if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, like Henry Ford said.
That's right.
And so I know for a fact that I got this, but that's not to say that flippantly or in a nonchalant way. Knowing that my body wants to be healthy, it wants to be in a state of balance. Somehow I've gotten out of balance. So the awareness of how have I imbalanced myself, and the mindset that I will bring myself back to balance and my body will heal itself. That's A. S is for source through breath. The type of breath work that I teach, and people are so familiar with breath work now that they think all breath work is the same. It's not. This is so far beyond Wim Hof, it's insane, because it's a totally different mechanic in the body that actually works on not just the cells and the respiration, but actually on the bioenergy that runs our system. And you can palpably feel in 2 minutes, if you've done these exercises, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah,
I'm electric. So it actually taps us into the universal source of life and
that's
energy in
right.
a way that I haven't seen in any other system. So source through breath is very important. Then we
I
have
do
C. Hmm?
I do breath work myself, so I'm a 9D practitioner and incorporate all sorts of different styles of breath work in depending on the moment. We just don't rely on, for all the listeners out there, breath work is a universal tool. There's many different variations. Wim
Yes.
Hof is what I like to call the handbrake or the emergency brake when you got a quick 5 minutes in the car,
Yep.
7 minutes, traffic lights, bit of box breathing or whatever. We go deeper. So
Okay.
9D, for instance, integrates all the different styles of breath work. It could be one style, it could be many into others, and your style has its own unique practices. And it's an amazing tool, somatic tool or out of body experience tool. Yeah, go on.
Truly. Truly.
Mm,
So after doing the breath work, which is extremely, it's
yeah,
invaluable. It's the first thing we do when we're born. It's the last thing we do when we die.
mm,
And yet, in between that time, we have about 22,000 plus times a day we can focus on it, and we don't. Most people don't ever focus on their breath until they're out of it. If they're in some place that smells bad, or if they have a disease like COVID or a cold or a flu or pneumonia. But with the breath, that's not enough. So the C is for what is known as the center point reset. Now, imagine in your body that you have poles, north and south, just like the planet does. We've got the north and south pole. We have this electromagnetic field around it. We have that in our body as well. And my soul partner, her name is Jemaya. She is a beautiful, amazing Dutch shaman. She has pioneered a way that in just maybe half hour, 45 minutes, she can actually reset the poles of your body. Now, this is not the meridians. This is not the dantian. This is not the nadis. This is not the chakras. This is the actual fundamental root energy that all of those things run off of. But if you can imagine, Craig, what would happen if the poles of the earth shifted 40 degrees? We'd have earthquakes, tsunamis, all the tides would change, weather patterns, it would be complete and total chaos on the planet. Well, our body is the same thing. So through our life, as we have experience, whether it's abuse, whether it's self-induced trauma, whether it's drug use, whether it's alcohol use, which is obviously a drug use, or maybe we have mental imbalances. If these get off center, our poles get off center, it can create all kinds of dis-ease and imbalance in the body. Things like depression can also create anxiety, can create chronic fatigue, it can create schizophrenia. There's all kinds of things. So if you could just imagine what it would be like to have someone, even over Zoom, because it's a quantum modality, be able to reset the poles of your body back to where they're supposed to be, in the center of your chest, and hearing like inside your soul, like a pop, and you're like, oh my God, I'm back home. Most people have never actually felt at home in their body, and they don't know that they've never been at home until they go home. So the center point reset is absolutely crucial to my healing, but also if you continue to scratch a scab and a wound, it's just going to keep bleeding. You have to get to the point where you're not scratching it anymore, and that's what the center point reset does. So that's the C part. Then there's E, eat to thrive. You know, I had eaten pretty clean, but it's very important that you have a very strict diet when you have a cancer diagnosis, right? No sugar whatsoever. And by eating to thrive, I've been able to accomplish something very amazing. You know, I used to work out for about 4 hours a day when I was teaching classes in person. And then the pandemic came. And a lot of us got stuck behind our computer screen. It's said that sitting is the new smoking because it is so harmful for our body to not be active. And I found myself for a couple of years doing a lot more training online like this than in person. And I found myself overweight. I found myself inflamed, pain in my joints. I found myself very much out of shape. Even though I was still working out, I was still sitting way too much. And since March 3rd until now, I have released 89 pounds.
Wow.
In about, well, it took about 5 months to lose the first 80 pounds. So 37 kilos. And I put on about 15 pounds of muscle. And my hypertension, my high blood pressure, now it's completely perfect. All of my blood markers, bell curve, right in the middle. I just even went to the endocrinologist last week, and he said, wow, all of your hormones are absolutely perfect. And he showed me green check marks over everything. And I have a smart scale that tells me my metabolic and biological age. And in March, it said I was 59 years old. I'm only 50. I just barely turned 50, but my body metabolically was 59. This morning, it says 37. So 22 years reverse. So just imagine, everybody out there, what it would be like if by exercising the right way, eating the right way, mindset the right way, you could actually turn back the clock by decades on your body. How cool would that be?
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
And it gets even better because N in the Ascend model for new frequency technologies. I've been so blessed, Craig, to have an amazing circle of influence and friends. Everything from people who have been nominated for Nobel Prizes to some of the greatest energy masters and most famous energy workers in the world, and everything in between. And when I put out the SOS, so to speak, with my GoFundMe campaign back in March, the amount of support that has come from all over the world in different medical and scientific and energy genres and circles has been absolutely incredible. And so everything from Rife frequencies to the Frequency Foundation to many energy modalities, entire church congregations praying for me, those have all been beautiful. And the one thing that has made the biggest difference that actually shrunk the tumor by over 50% in a 5-week period in between scans is something that's called PPT V cells. That, for everybody out there who wants to nerd out, photobiomodulated plasma therapy, very small embryonic like stem cells. That's a mouthful, right? So the PPT V cell treatment, well, a good friend of mine who discovered how to activate the very small embryonic like cells in our blood plasma, he was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine last year. So now I'm working with a scientist, a biochemist of the highest order, who has taken that work light years beyond. So V cells are very well studied. They're like the future of medicine, and many people agree on this. But imagine if you have a little toy car and then you have a Pagani Zonda or a Bugatti Veyron. There's a difference between your Matchbox car and that thing. That's what this does. And so through his really unique process, he's able to activate numerous kinds of these stem cells, not just one kind, many kind. And then using a very special multi-channel laser, he can deposit them at the depth that you need them and hyper-concentrate these. He's the only one in the world that can do it. And
Wow.
it's been so impactful for me that my soul partner and I have actually partnered in business with him to bring this to other people. He's not accessible. We'll put it that way. It's kind of like he works with the head of NASA and people like that. You can't get to see him unless you know a guy. But everybody out there watching or listening, if you have a tissue issue, reach out to me because then you'll know a guy.
So it goes beyond the standard stem cell therapy where they take young blood and inject it into the cartilage of, of an older body. Yeah.
Well, there are different kinds of stem cells. So there are embryonic stem cells, which, first of all, they're not yours. So your body does reject a lot of them because our immune system will attack anything that it doesn't recognize as being ours, right? That's why when people get a liver transplant, they have to be taking these medications to prevent rejection. If it's not yours, your immune system's going to go after it. Second of all, they're pretty big. So especially with me, we've got this thing called the blood-brain barrier. Only things of a certain size can get through it, or smaller. Embryonic stem cells are way too big. So it wouldn't do anything for my brain. There's another kind called the Muse cells, which are your own. And they actually, this sounds totally horrific, but they drill into your bone, they extract the stem cells from your bone marrow, then they activate them, then they put them back in your body. But here's the problem. First of all, they're pretty big. Second of all is if you're 50 years old, you're now activating 50-year-old stem cells that have had all the degradation, all the oxidation, all the stress, all the trauma of your 50 years. And so you're injecting 50-year-old stem cells. Then you have the V cells. And the V cells are very unique because they're in our blood plasma all the time, but they are like day zero perfect stem cells, like they came from your placenta when you were born. And the thing is that these go dormant when we're born. They just shut off and they become inactive. They're still replicating, but they're not doing anything. So one of my friends discovered how to activate that with a certain laser. Now the person that I'm working with, he activates all these different kinds. And they are, like I said, day zero stem cells. So they don't have any trauma, no oxidation, no shortening of telomeres. They are your perfect stem cells. And then he injects them and then he hyperconcentrates them. So there are a lot of people that are doing stem cell therapy. But what I love most about this is, first of all, well, it's about a quarter to a third the price of a normal stem cell treatment. It's a lot less invasive, a lot more effective as far as the research out there. And I'm not a big fan of needles, although I've had my fair share lately, a lot of needles. But imagine if it was just as easy as an IV, where they just took some blood out and then they put it back in there and you could feel it working right then. And it just kept getting better and better. Imagine how amazing that would be to have a therapy like that that's available. Well, there is. And so that's the N for new frequency technologies. I put that in there for new frequency technologies because they use lasers and frequency to activate the very small embryonic like the V cells. So it is a frequency technology. Without the frequency, they're not going to be active, and you still have them just running around your bloodstream, not doing anything. And finally, in this Ascend model is D for decode your body. So I am a certified body code practitioner using muscle testing and magnet therapy. It's a patented modality developed by a doctor here in the US that we can test your body and your subconscious, and your body will actually communicate with me. I just did a couple sessions this morning on what exactly it needs, because our body knows intrinsically what we need. It's our thinking, logical mind that gets in the way. But we're doing something like 36 septillion functions a second, our body is. That's 36 with 21 zeros at the end. Every second. That's what our entire body and system is doing. We can't keep track of that with our logical mind. We can barely keep track of our grocery list or anybody's phone number, including our own in our own head. So when we start asking that aspect of our body, the collective unconscious, the subconscious, the superconscious, what the body needs, it's amazing what happens. So there's that, the body code. But there's also things like Viome testing. That's testing your gut microbiome. Things like the LCAT test, testing your blood for what kinds of foods are inflammatory for you. Things that go beyond what we ever had available for us before. But we can actually test our DNA and have it back in a couple of weeks, like cheek swab, and you can see your entire genetic profile, what you may have difficulty digesting, or enzymes, or you're maybe more prone to these kinds of cancer. You get that back in 2 weeks or maybe less. So decoding our body and finding out where we're at as far as our hormones, our genetics, our gut microbiome, what our supplementation needs to be, our diet, what kind of diet we really thrive on, all these things are going to help our body move to that state of health. And so Ascend is really important because it works on your mind, it works on your energetic field, it works on your breath capacity, it works on the biology of your blood, it works on your body's healing ability, and it also is important for finding out what you actually need to work on, so you're not just putting a blindfold on and shooting a bow and arrow or a gun in the dark at something you don't even know is a problem. It's better to know and then address what is the issue than it is to just scatter everything. Like Tony Robbins is a fan of saying, I've heard him say this several times, when is the best time to kill a monster? When it's a baby monster. I'm having to back down Godzilla if I would have done testing before, but I didn't know anything was wrong. And that's a real interesting thing about cancer. How many people go for a checkup and find out they have stage 4 cancer? I didn't know, I had no signs, because it's your own body. And a lot of the time your body doesn't pick that up. There are different cancer signaling pathways and things that almost make it invisible to your body's natural killer cells and T cells. So getting these things done, because they're inexpensive to have the testing done. I mean, compared to how much your life is worth, I think a few $100s in testing is probably pretty worth it. That if I would have known before, I could have gotten it when it was a baby monster. But it took.
We service our motor vehicles more than what we do our bodies. Yeah,
For sure.
if we treated our bodies like vehicles and checked in regularly for checkups, particularly as we get past the 35 and into the 40 plus age range, where health awareness becomes much more on the radar, then we'd be able to catch things like cancer, even diabetes, mental health diagnoses, anything early. And then, as I say, prevention is the best form of cure as best as possible. Yeah.
Without a doubt. The thing is, so many of these things are preventable. And it's also important. I think most people really understand that we have never lived in a more toxic time in human history, from poisonous water and food and air and 5G and Wi Fi and pathogens like the C word. There's so many things out there that our body is fighting off so that we can have this experience on the planet. And yes, you're right that this is a vehicle. This is an amazing, infinite, divine vehicle of consciousness. And we do a lot of times service our vehicles a lot more often than we do with our body. And most people only do something about this vehicle when they feel that something is wrong. So it's like in a car, only ever actually getting it serviced when you hear knocking and pinging in your engine, or your tire goes flat, instead of getting new tires before they actually wear out. And so that's one thing that I'm so passionate about, Craig, is helping people realize it doesn't have to be scary. And it's so much better if you do, because you get to live with less or no pain, with more energy, and you get to live a longer and more fulfilling life. And if you ask anybody on their deathbed, do you wish you'd spent one more day at the office? Nobody's going to say yes.
Definitely.
They're going to say, I wish I would have taken better care of myself. I wish I would have got these tests. I wish I would have told the people I love them more. I wish I would have loved more deeply. I wish I would have done more work on myself. If you're watching this right now, you're not watching it by accident. You're here for a reason. You're getting a message right now. Love yourself enough. Love yourself enough to find out what's going on under your hood before it's too late. Because I could tell you this, Western medicine's amazing. But when you walk in and it's something like what I'm working with, and they just go, yeah, we don't know. We can't do anything. Then it's a lot more stress in your life, having to save your own life, than it is simply changing a few things early on and making sure that you just don't have to deal with that.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I've lost my mother due to cancer. 2-year battle. She fought it to the last breath. The determination and the resilience of her was just what she modeled to me about resilience was remarkable. And that started in the late 90s, and the diagnosis and the doctors gave her 6 months to live. And then she turned around and went, well, I'm not having that. And she got around some local Australian naturopaths, because this was the time in the late 90s when natural medicine and Herbalife and all those other ideas come onto the market, and there's studies about pawpaw coming out, drinking pawpaw juice and all that sort of stuff to shrink melanomas. It was a crazy time, but mum was just so open to it and turned their lives upside down for health. However, eventually it was the brain tumor that got her, and it was incurable. She fought cancer, so she had surgery, both breasts removed, which gave a temporary sort of solution. She went through the chemo, went through the radiation, had them both simultaneously. Evidently, cancer being cancer, it spread through her body. And she had over 300 tumors throughout her body. And eventually it was the one on the brain that was the final, which, she gave it to her last breath. And that sort of touched on me about resilience. It's like, okay, health. I grew up, I'm a farm boy, so I grew up in the country. So we grew up around chemicals like Barricade S, Taurine, or TCH as the scientific compound. Back in the day where there was no PPE, you go, Matt, you go happy on a spray rig, spray your animals, no PPE, a pair of shorts and a gumboots and a singlet, and away you go. You're right. And it eventually will catch up later on in life. Chemicals, all sorts, health, mental health, physical health, foods. You're definitely right about the foods. Who we hang around with, A naturopath taught me a very valuable lesson. Cancer loves acid, loves an acidic body. So if we take the pH, and I'll keep it simple for all those out there, for my viewers, acidic disease grows. If you, I'll use an analogy of a fish tank. If you have a too acidic of water in a fish tank, the fish die. If you have a too alkaline of a water, the fish die. Nothing can grow. However, if you can do a pH test and get that, what they call the perfect middle, where you're not too acidic and you're not too alkaline, then the body can thrive. And it comes back to your body. The more stress you have in your life, the more acid that grows in your life, the more you are prone to disease and sickness. I'm happy to be wrong on that. Although I've got enough evidence in my family line to prove that. Cut the stress out. The more alkaline or the more evenly balanced you can balance your body with the people you hang around with, the situations, that whole ascend model basically put into practice, the better we can thrive, we can reverse our body clocks, and we can live longer, ultimately more peaceful lives. Would that be fair to say?
Without a doubt.
Mm.
Without a doubt. And it's very, one of the things that really changed in my frame of reference, Craig, is what's real and what's really important. So being a high producer myself, and I think a lot of people out there can relate, we want to get the goals. We want to have the check boxes on our daily planner. We want to make the money. We want to have the ideal whatever. And when you face something like this, for me, all of those resentments, the angers, all the confusions, contusions, delusions, illusions, they really fell away in a big, big way that no amount of talk therapy or hypnosis would have done. This is like, oh no, this is really real. And asking these questions, what am I actually here for? Those big questions. Where did I come from? How did I get here? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Where am I going after this? These are the big questions that people have been asking since the dawn of time. And we can ask those questions when we want to. But then there's the other situation where you ask these questions because you have to. And for me, and I can only speak for myself, I'm here to learn. I'm here to experience. I'm here to love. I'm here to contribute. I'm here to spread joy and knowledge and to help other people be able to do that for a longer time. That's what I really feel that I'm here to do, and why I continue to, I'm not going to say fight, why I continue to actively heal this brain tumor. I don't want it to be like this. I want it to be like, oh, okay, we're just going to move it back into balance, and guess what? Things are going to be fine. And there's something that everybody out there, if you can take one thing away from this time that I'm here with Craig, the statement that healing does not always mean curing. Healing in here, healing on a spiritual level. It doesn't mean necessarily curing anything, but there are a lot of people who have been, quote, cured of different things that bring that thing right back because they have not actually healed. They're cured, right, but it comes back. So healing yourself, that's what the Ascend framework and the Ascended Living program that we run is all about, is helping people to find that balance, to find that optimal vitality and that well-being inside themselves at the core root level of your center point energy and working up until you get to the physical.
That's right. That's right. Wow. Some real truths to ring home to people out there. And if this does ring home and make you stop and think, act, reach out and have a conversation. Don't get caught up in the head of the thoughts. Reach out, have a conversation. Reach out to me or reach out to Nate or reach out to your loved ones, just someone. Just digest that conversation rather than leave it in the thought process, because this is some really deep truths we have discovered today. Mate, if this was your final message, what do you want to leave behind in humanity's nervous system?
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time? I didn't catch the last part.
If this was your final message, what do you want to leave behind for humanity's greater nervous system, so the metaphysical?
Wonderful question. You're here for a reason. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Have you even asked and deeply sat with that? There are many moments that we have in our life, but there's no such thing as an ordinary moment. Every one of them is sacred. Every one of them is special. Every breath you take is a gift. Every time your heart beats is a gift. So I would leave with a question. Are you paying attention?
That's right. Very good. And where could people begin their own journey to sovereignty?
I would love to have a conversation, and my partner, Jemiah, as well, with anybody who is facing a physically or mentally challenging issue, who is really actually ready to take those steps to move into that optimal vitality and well-being, who really is like, I'm an action taker, not a action talker, but an action taker. You can just reach out to us at ascended.living. You can schedule a one-on-one. You can see our site. You can see what we offer and how we support people. And if it really resonates with you, please reach out. We're here for you. Both of us have recovered from the unrecoverable, so they say. And it's our mission to help as many other people do that as well.
That's right. Well, thank you, Nate. Brother, I'm astounded. I'm really sitting grounded, and the mind is churning at the moment, thinking in a deep thought process. And if this conversation has impacted you viewers out there, do reach out, have a conversation for help. Some of the topics that we did cover today can be sensitive. They are sensitive. Do reach out for help. There's men's helpline, particularly for us fellas, on the topics of suicide and stuff like that. Do reach out to the men's helpline. I know here in Australia and America, they'd have similar sort of phone lines. Do reach out, have a conversation, have that conversation, take action. Don't let things sit in the mind. Thank you, brother. Any passing words? Any final words?
There's an amazing song by a group called Wookie Foot. Yeah, it's called Wookie, like Chewbacca, Wookie Foot, called Happy to Be Here. I suggest everybody goes and listens to that. It's such an amazing and deep, spiritually aligned song. I listen to it every day. I'm happy to be here. And I'm also happy that you're here, Craig. And to everybody out there, I'm happy that you're here too. Please let me know how I can serve. Ascended.living, give you all the information I've got. Much love to all of you.
Thank you, brother. And please like and subscribe on all platforms, Spotify and Apple, and jump on the YouTube for the video. Yeah, guys, let's focus, let's forge and ascend. This is our legacy. We're only here on this earth once physically, so let's make it the best shot we can be. So let's do it. Until next episode, guys, bye for now.